Hey folks, I'm tying some hair rigs today, and thought I'd just go through real quick and show you how I tie my hair rigs. I'm sure there's a few different ways. I've seen a few different ways that people do them. Over time I've tried a few different ways, and this is kind of what I've settled on for the time being at least. And it works pretty good. And this is 30-pound braided line and a number 4 hook and a small barrel swivel. Those are the 3 components that make up this rig, and I'll show you how I tie this, but I'm going to use a larger hook and some larger line just for demonstration purposes. Okay, so as you can see here, I've got a larger hook. This is a 4/0 hook versus a size 4. So we'll move this out of the way for now. I've got a 4/0 hook, and this is about 12 inches of 20-pound monofilament. The first thing you want to do is take your line and make a loop at the end, and you're just going to tie an overhand knot with that loop, just like that. Pull it tight, give yourself a loop at the end of the line. Trim off that tag end, leave a little bit of a tag. So now I'm going to do another overhand knot. And leave it open, just like that. So now I'm going to put the shank of the hook through this open overhand knot that I made. I'm going to pull down on this end and just kind of measure how long I want my hair to be that's hanging off the end of the hook. And the reason I tie this knot here like this is because I like the hair to be coming off the hook kind of right where the bend is, right kind of just below where the point of the hook is on the shank here. So I'm just going to kind of measure how long I want my hair to be. You know, that's probably about right here. So I'm going to grab the hair and the hook and hold those stationary, and I'm going to pull on this line here and cinch that tight onto the shank of the hook. And then I'm just going to keep holding the hair and the hook with my thumb and my forefinger here. I'm going to make a loop around the shank of the hook and then back through. I'm just tying another overhand knot around the shank of the hook. See it? There you go. And I'm slowly going to cinch that down right next to, not on top of, but next to the first knot that I made. Pull it tight. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do that same thing about 4, 5, 6 times. Work my way up the shank of the hook, tying these overhand knots and placing them not on top of each other, but right next to each other. So that's what we're building here. We're building a line of knots going up the shank of the hook. When you pull these tight, you don't want to pull up toward the eye of the hook. You want to pull out, away from the shank of the hook. That way you can get some good torque on it and it cinches down tight on the shank of the hook. So I'm going to do that, 3, 4, 5 more times here. And I'm doing this with 20-pound mono here. It'll work a lot better with smaller diameter braid. Those knots are really locked down real tight and stay put. I'll show you the finished hair rig with the braid again at the end here after we get done. Okay, so here's what we've got so far. We've got our loop at the end, the hair hanging off the hook, and then about 5 or 6 overhand knots on the shank of the hook going up towards the eye. So then I'm going to do basically just a knotless knot or a snell. I'm going to take the end of the line, put it through the back of the eye of the hook, and then we're going to come back down the shank of the hook, wrapping it around the shank 7-8 times, and hold that with your finger. Run that end of that line back through the eye of the hook and pull tight. So here's what we've got now. All that's left to do now is make another loop at the end of the line here. Again, you just make a loop, take both ends, and tie an overhand knot. Pull that tight, trim off the tag end. And then get yourself a barrel swivel. Put the end of your loop through the barrel swivel and then over top of the other end of the barrel swivel. Pull that tight. So that's just looped around the end of the barrel swivel. And that's it. This, you can attach your main line to this swivel here, and here's the real deal with the 30-pound braid, smaller version. I'll get you a close-up of that. So there they are side by side. So the purpose of these knots here along the shank is to keep this hair from riding up towards the eye of the hook. I've seen people that don't do this at all, and the hair just comes off right up here at the top by the eye of the hook. And that works to, say that the hair is hanging back this way away from the point of the hook. If a fish picks this up, they're going to get the bait and this end of the hook in their mouth, which is not what you want, obviously. So I like to have these knots here that keep that hair pinned to the lower portion of the shank. That way, when a fish picks up the bait that's right here, they're likely to get that hook point in their mouth and not the eye of the hook. But anyway, that's how I tie my hair rigs. There's different ways. People have different ideas of what works for them. But based on what I've been doing with my carp fishing, this works good for me. So, hope you found that helpful. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.